What if mastering 10 simple yet powerful habits, from active listening and unwavering eye contact to strategic pauses, clear language, and authentic body language, could turn every conversation into a catalyst for genuine connection and lasting influence? Active listening forms the bedrock of every meaningful conversation, transforming simple exchanges into profound connections. To begin, clear your environment of distractions. Silence your phone, close unrelated tabs, and orient your body so you face the speaker directly, leaning in slightly to signal genuine interest. As you settle into the conversation, notice more than the words themselves. Tune into the speaker's tone, pace, and volume, and watch for subtle shifts in facial expression, hand gestures, or posture that reveal emotions beneath the surface. Even the rhythm of someone's breathing or a thoughtful pause can hint at hesitation, excitement, or inner conflict, inviting you to ask gentle, open-ended questions like, "Could you tell me more about that?" Or, "What led you to feel this way?" Resisting the urge to interrupt is crucial. When you allow thoughts to flow fully before responding, you show respect and build trust, demonstrating that their voice holds as much value as your own. If you fear losing track of your idea, simply jot a brief keyword, then return your focus entirely to the speaker. Once they have finished, reflect back what you have heard. Phrases such as, "It sounds like you're saying," or "I'm hearing that this made you feel," confirm understanding and encourage correction if you've missed the mark. Validating their feelings with sincere acknowledgments like, "I can understand why that would be frustrating," or "That must have been exciting," deepens rapport on an emotional level. Turning these practices into daily habits, whether in a 5-minute catch-up with a colleague, a quick phone call with a family member, or a casual chat with a friend, ensures that active listening becomes second nature. Over time, you'll discover that conflicts diminish, insights emerge more readily, and others naturally gravitate toward you for advice and support. By fully engaging your attention, responding with empathy, and continually seeking to clarify and connect, you cultivate an environment where ideas flow freely and relationships flourish. In mastering the art of active listening, you not only become a better communicator, but also an influencer whose presence resonates far beyond the words you speak. Maintaining steady, genuine eye contact instantly transforms routine exchanges into moments of real connection. When you look someone in the eyes, you're communicating respect, confidence, and presence long before you speak a single word. To harness this power, begin by eliminating distractions. Put your phone away, turn off notifications, and face the person squarely, allowing your gaze to meet theirs naturally. As you hold eye contact, pay attention to the subtle signals transmitted through another's eyes, flickers of hesitation, sparks of enthusiasm, or fleeting doubts. These visual cues act as a live feedback loop, guiding you to adjust your tone, pace, or a choice of words in real time. If you sense confusion, pause and rephrase. If you detect excitement, lean in and match their energy. Over time, this responsive dance deepens mutual understanding and prevents miscommunications before they take root. Overcoming discomfort with direct gaze often requires practice in low-stakes settings. Smile and maintain eye contact with a barista handing you coffee, or meet a colleague's glance briefly as you pass in the hallway. Each small success builds confidence, until sustained eye contact in longer conversations feels as natural as breathing. In professional contexts, strong eye contact marks you as a leader worth listening to. During presentations or negotiations, sweeping your gaze across the room invites everyone into the dialogue, signaling that you value their attention and input. Even in moments of conflict, holding calm, steady eye contact reassures others of your sincerity and willingness to engage, diffusing tension and opening pathways to resolution. Mind cultural differences. In some societies, prolonged eye contact may feel confrontational, while in others, too little gaze can seem dismissive. Observe and adapt to the norms of your audience, always prioritizing authentic presence over rigid rules. When you master the subtle art of eye contact, you'll find conversations become richer, trust grows more quickly, and your influence extends far beyond the words you choose. Before you speak, give yourself a moment to gather your thoughts and set the stage for clarity. Pausing, even for a breath or a silent count of 3, creates space to decide exactly what you want to say and why it matters. In that brief pause, you remind yourself of your intention. Are you informing, persuading, or empathizing? By clarifying your purpose, you avoid slipping into reactionary remarks or veering off topic. This moment of reflection also lets you choose language that fits your audience. Rather than defaulting to jargon or vague phrases, you can select words that resonate, framing your message in terms they'll understand. If emotions are running high, anger, anxiety, excitement, a deliberate pause helps you regain composure, preventing impulsive statements that might cause regret. Embracing silence isn't a sign of weakness. It signals confidence and respect for both your own ideas and the person listening. In practice, this means resisting the urge to fill every gap with words. Notice when your mind wants to jump in and train yourself to hold back until you've organized your thoughts. Over time, these mindful pauses become a natural rhythm in your speech, transforming hurried monologues into thoughtful dialogue. Listeners appreciate the weight and precision of your words because each one arrives with purpose. By thinking before you speak, you strengthen your credibility and foster deeper understanding. Conversations shift from chaotic exchanges to intentional collaborations, as both parties feel heard and valued. In mastering this simple discipline, you not only protect the clarity of your message, but also build trust, making every word count. When we strip away jargon and opt for plain, everyday words, even the most complex ideas become approachable and memorable. Clarity begins by pinpointing the single core message you want to share. Everything else is noise. Once you know that central point, choose the simplest term that conveys it. Rather than utilize, say use. Instead of ameliorate, say improve. These small swaps honor your listeners' time and mental energy, inviting them in rather than leaving them behind. Breaking big concepts into bite-sized pieces further enhances understanding. Introduce one idea at a time, then illustrate it with a concrete example, such as likening a tangled project plan to a knotted rope that needs careful unwinding. Metaphors and brief stories paint vivid mental pictures, transforming abstract theory into something people can grasp instantly. As you speak or write, pay close attention to your audience's reactions. If you spot puzzled expressions or receive requests for clarification, It's a signal to pare back further. Practice editing your own scripts or emails. Challenge yourself to replace every multi-syllable word with a clearer alternative, and watch how your message grows more powerful. Embracing simplicity doesn't mean dumbing down your content. It means respecting your audience by meeting them where they are. Leaders who master this approach inspire trust and action because their ideas land without friction. By consistently choosing simple words, you build bridges of understanding that elevate your influence and ensure your message resonates long after the conversation ends. Asking open-ended questions is like unlocking a door to deeper understanding and authentic connection. Rather than settling for yes or no, open-ended prompts invite others to share their thoughts, feelings, and stories, transforming a one-sided monologue into a rich exchange. When you genuinely want to learn, questions that begin with what, how, or why encourage people to explore their experiences. What inspired you to take on this project? Or how did you navigate that challenge? These invitations signal respect for the speaker's perspective and demonstrate that you value their insight. In everyday conversations, gently weaving in open-ended questions shifts the dynamic. A simple, "Tell me more about that," at a pause can reveal motivations you never anticipated. When emotions or opinions surface, asking, "Why does this matter to you?" helps you understand the person's priorities and build empathy. As you listen to their answers, follow up with curiosity. Notice the details they emphasize and ask them to elaborate on what seems most important. Over time, this practice deepens trust and encourages people to open up more freely. It also fosters collaboration. In team meetings or brainstorming sessions, asking, "How might we approach this differently?" invites fresh ideas and collective ownership. Even in casual chats, open-ended questions create memorable exchanges that linger long after the conversation ends. By making curiosity your default mode, you not only gather richer information, but also cultivate the kind of rapport that turns acquaintances into allies and discussions into lasting relationships. Recording yourself, speaking and reviewing the playback can unveil communication habits you'd never spot in the moment. When you listen or watch yourself back, you become an objective observer, catching rushed pacing, monotone delivery, or those frequent ums and likes that dilute your message. Start by choosing a quiet spot and a short script or presentation you'd normally deliver. Use your phone or any recorder, then speak as if addressing a live audience. Natural energy, authentic tone, and all. Once you've captured your performance, press play with fresh ears. Notice where your speed spikes and the message blurs, or where long pauses leave listeners guessing. Listen for filler words that slip in unconsciously. Each or you know marks an opportunity to tighten your delivery. If available, review a video recording to observe your posture, facial expressions, and eye contact. Nonverbal cues are as telling as your voice. Take detailed notes on both strengths and areas to refine. Maybe your enthusiasm shines through on certain points, or your hand gestures emphasize key ideas. Equally, you might spot shoulders hunching under nerves, or eyes darting away from the camera. With this feedback, design targeted drills. Practice that tricky sentence at a slower pace. Record yourself eliminating one filler word, or rehearse holding eye contact through a full paragraph. Sharing your recordings with a trusted peer or mentor can add fresh perspectives. Others may notice patterns you miss. Schedule regular record and review sessions each week to maintain momentum. Over time, this disciplined approach builds self-awareness, sharpens your presence, and transforms spoken words into precise, impactful messages. By turning the mirror on your own delivery, you bridge the gap between how you think you communicate and how the world actually experiences your voice. Your body often speaks louder than words, and aligning your nonverbal signals with your message can transform ordinary exchanges into compelling interactions. Start by becoming aware of your habitual posture. Notice if you tend to hunch your shoulders, cross your arms, or shift your weight back and forth. These unconscious cues can signal defensiveness or discomfort, even when your words are confident. To project openness and authority, straighten your spine, relax your shoulders, and plant your feet hip-width apart. This grounded stance conveys both approachability and self-assurance. Hand gestures are powerful tools when used purposefully. Rather than letting your hands drift or fidget, enlist them to illustrate key points. Trace simple shapes in the air to outline concepts, or hold up fingers to enumerate steps. These movements should feel natural and rhythmically connected to your speech. When your hands reinforce what you say, listeners form a stronger mental image of your ideas. Avoid repetitive or excessive gesturing, which can distract, and aim instead for deliberate motions that punctuate each important thought. Facial expressions create immediate emotional resonance. A genuine smile at the outset warms the room and signals friendliness. As you transition to more serious content, let your eyebrows and eyes reflect concern or focus, matching the tone of your words. If you describe an exciting outcome, allow your voice and facial energy to lift in tandem. This harmony between expression and narrative tells your audience they can trust both your words and your intentions. Eye contact ties your entire presence together. Scan your listener or audience in a smooth, inclusive pattern. Linger long enough to make each person feel acknowledged, then move on naturally. In small group conversations, shift your gaze between participants. In one-on-one settings, hold steady eye contact, breaking periodically to avoid staring. This cadence keeps engagement high and demonstrates respect. Finally, practice and feedback are key. Rehearse in front of a mirror or record a short talk to observe your physical habits. Note areas where your body language supports your message and where it undermines it. Seek input from a trusted colleague. They can alert you to crossed arms you didn't know you had, or to gestures that felt natural to you but seemed excessive to them. Over time, these conscious adjustments become automatic, and your physical presence will seamlessly reinforce the clarity and impact of your spoken words. Reading aloud every day is a deceptively simple habit that can dramatically sharpen the clarity and expressiveness of your voice. Carve out a few minutes in a quiet space, perhaps first thing in the morning or during a midday break, and choose any passage, a news article, a poem, or even a favorite book. As you vocalize each sentence, pay close attention to your enunciation, making sure every consonant and vowel is fully formed. This deliberate practice slows your speech, exposing any tendency to mumble or rush through tricky phrases. Beyond pronunciation, reading aloud builds vocal endurance and versatility. Experiment with pacing. Slow down for emphasis, then pick up speed to convey excitement or urgency. Play with pitch and volume, letting your voice rise on key words and soften on reflective moments. This dynamic range keeps listeners engaged far more effectively than a flat, monotone delivery. Over time, your mouth and vocal cords grow accustomed to clear, purposeful speech, making polished articulation your default, even in casual conversations. Recording a few of these sessions can be illuminating. When you listen back, note where you stumble, where your tone falters, or where filler words sneak in. Use that feedback to refine your next reading, focusing on smoothing out rough spots and enhancing emotional expression. By committing to daily reading aloud, even just 5 minutes, you not only strengthen the mechanics of your speech, but also cultivate confidence in your voice. You'll find yourself speaking more deliberately, listening with greater sensitivity to rhythm and tone, and ultimately connecting with others through a clearer, more compelling presence. Expanding your vocabulary is like unlocking new pathways for thought, expression, and connection. By exposing yourself to diverse reading, from novels and news articles to essays and poetry, you naturally encounter fresh words in context, making them easier to understand and remember. Whenever you stumble upon an unfamiliar term, pause to infer its meaning from surrounding sentences, then look it up to confirm. Jot the word down along with a brief definition and an example sentence in a dedicated notebook or digital list. To cement new vocabulary, weave these words into your own speech and writing as soon as possible. Challenge yourself to craft a short paragraph or a couple of sentences using each new entry. This active usage transforms passive recognition into active command. Reading aloud these sentences further reinforces pronunciation and retention, engaging both mind and voice in the learning process. Venture beyond your comfort zone by sampling different genres and subjects: history, science, philosophy, or creative fiction, all of which employ distinct registers and jargon. This variety broadens your understanding of how words shift meaning, depending on context and audience. Notice, too, the power of strong verbs and precise adjectives. Replacing make with forge or achieve can imbue your message with nuance and energy. Remember that vocabulary growth is a lifelong journey. Set a manageable goal, like learning 3 to 5 new words each week, and review your growing list regularly. Engage in word games, flashcards, or apps that encourage spaced repetition. Over time, you'll find yourself speaking and writing with greater confidence, able to pinpoint exactly the shade of meaning you intend. As your vocabulary flourishes, so will your ability to think more clearly, persuade more effectively, and connect more deeply. Because the richer your word bank, the more fully you can express the richness of your ideas. Inviting honest feedback transforms communication from a solo act into a collaborative journey of continuous growth. Start by identifying a few trusted colleagues, friends, or mentors who witness you in action, whether leading meetings, presenting ideas, or engaging in everyday conversations. Approach them with clear, focused questions like, "How could I make my explanations clearer?" Or, "Did my tone feel supportive during that discussion?" These targeted prompts encourage specific insights rather than vague praise or criticism. When feedback arrives, listen without defense. Treat each comment as a gift rather than a judgment. Resist the urge to explain or justify. Instead, absorb the perspective fully and ask gentle, clarifying questions such as, "Can you give me an example of when that happened?" Or, "What alternative approach would you suggest?" This deepens your understanding of the underlying habits or moments that need attention. You may discover recurring patterns, a rushed delivery under pressure, an over-reliance on filler words, or a tendency to avoid tough topics that remained invisible without an external mirror. Integrating feedback into your routine is what yields lasting transformation. Create a simple habit of scheduling periodic check-ins, perhaps monthly or after every major presentation, and combine external input with self-review. Recording your conversations or talks allows you to compare your own observations with the feedback you receive, building a comprehensive picture of your strengths and growth areas. As you experiment with adjustments based on these insights, you'll notice incremental but tangible improvements. Your words land more clearly, your presence feels more authentic, and your listeners respond with greater engagement. Embracing feedback also models a culture of openness that invites others to follow suit. When your team observes you soliciting and applying constructive critiques, they feel safe to voice their own ideas and concerns, elevating the entire group's communication. Over time, this cycle of giving, receiving, and acting on feedback becomes second nature, transforming what was once a static style into a dynamic, ever-evolving dialogue. In this space of mutual learning and respect, your influence grows organically, powered not by authority alone, but by a reputation for adaptability, empathy, and the courage to keep refining the way you connect with others. By weaving these principles into your daily interactions, you'll cultivate a communication style that's clear, confident, and deeply connective, transforming every conversation into an opportunity for understanding, influence, and lasting rapport.